My pals at Wizards of the Coast, though, thought old Anton should get to check it out a little early. This thing is awesome. It's huge. It's so heavy. You could fight crime with this. This is fantastic. Welcome to the table. Sometimes when I'm traveling, I get these notifications from the people who house it that there are packages that just keep arriving, and that makes me very happy because when I get home, it's kind of like a mini holiday where I get to unbox a bunch of stuff, and that happened recently. So today, we're talking about Dungeons and Dragons. There is something incredibly rewarding about seeing Dungeons and Dragons material in the spaces that you see it in now. You go to bookstores, big box stores, ice cream parlors sometimes. I mean, there's D&D stuff at gas stations and convenience stores, and there are people just walking around at concerts and venue halls with D&D clothing that they've picked up at, just traditional retailers. You don't have to go to like a specific gaming shop and hope that they have like one of three black and white shirts that may just say, like D&D, or may just have like the ampersand on it or something. And for me, that's really, really rewarding. You go into a shop, and next to the Live, Laugh, Love cheese board, there's like a fizz band, right? There's just random like Strahd stuff. People, you can say Strahd and people know what, or Ravenloft, and there's somebody in the crowd who's typically like, oh yeah, I really like Castle Ravenloft, and that's because Stranger Things, and that's because Critical Role and Dimension 20, and just I think a lot of it also has to do with like that pandemic we had that may or may not still be going on because the news, but I think it harkens back to a time where we are all inside and we were searching for connection, and virtual tabletop really helped people come together, and Let's Plays really kind of captured people's imaginations because they realized that this hobby that I've loved all my life is really cool. So it becomes incredibly rewarding to be out there kind of in the world and see D&D and tabletop role-playing game stuff everywhere. I remember the first time I saw a starter set. I think it was the Stranger Things D&D starter set, and it was at one of these big box stores, and I saw it on the shelves, and I was just like, that's D&D stuff, like in a store that people who would have condemned this or burned it when I was a kid, they can see it. That's amazing. Like that's so much fun, man. And it's just this rewarding thing happens in my chest, when you see that kind of thing. And it's been happening for years now, right? It's kind of hard to not go somewhere that's in a pop culture space and at least find some kind of, whether it's dice or minis, your hero clicks, or you're out there seeing D&D stuff, or Daggerheart, or Pathfinder, or Morgborg, or the Shadow Dark is rad. That's a new thing that I've been reading through that I think is a very cool system. We'll talk about that at some point. But it's really awesome to be able to be out here in the world and like see all of this stuff. And remember back when I was playing D&D very young, and not having that same sort of experience, right? Anything that sort of happened outside of that small room in the back of the comic shop with the weird drippy drip, it was a little bit more looked down, a lot more looked down on. I'm not gonna bear the lead for you guys. It was bad. We lived in a rough time. And I'm later than the Satanic Panic, sort of, but where I grew up, there was a lot of panic about a lot of things. Which music you listened to, what cartoons you watched, what games you played, and all of that could, on a dime, become evil if a group of people collectively decided that was the case at some random get together. So being able to see all of this D&D stuff in like a very public space is super rad. And they have a new starter set that's introducing people to the 2024 rules, right, which is the newest iteration. They have the player's handbook, they have a monster manual, and they have a dungeon master's guide. I really don't like the term dungeon master, but it is the industry term, and that's fine. I like storyteller. It is what it is. But they're dungeon master's guide, right? So they have those three kind of core books, your core books to play the game. And they're out now. They've been out for a second, and so they're about to drop this starter set in like a week. And the starter set is called Heroes of the Borderlands. And what's really cool about that is I remember playing the Keep on the Borderlands, right? And that title is way too similar to not be hearkening back to some nostalgia there. But I remember playing Keep on the Borderlands when I was really young. And now I wasn't around when Keep on the Borderlands came out. My version of Keep on the Borderlands, as you can see, is incredibly distressed. And this came from when a bunch of guys were throwing away their second edition D&D stuff into trash cans because they were going to move on to a different gaming system from Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, from AD&D. They were going to move on from that to play something else, and so they were just getting rid of stuff. They didn't think anybody would have any value in any of this. I, not having any money and being a small hobgoblin child, was like, could I have that, like, from the trash can? And they were just like, yeah, buddy, I don't care. And then I got a bunch of other cool stuff that they threw out as well. So it's scuffed and distressed because they've had it for a while. But it is a well-worn, well-loved adventure that I've run. I ran in AD&D in the early 90s. And then I ran it in 3.0. I had a version of it that I ran probably in the early 2000s, around there. And essentially it's a really good way to start your characters into D&D. And the reason it's very easy to kind of pick up and play, and it was sort of formative for me, is because it gives you sort of this is what D&D is. Like, this is how you start the game, this is how you start playing. This is the role the players have. This is the role the storyteller has. This is there's a glossary of terms that explains to you what everything is, and it's in very sort of simple terms, which is a ton of fun because there's a lot of like goofy stuff that's in the back. I think one of them is was it? Yeah, I think it was like Pot Boy, maybe. I feel like it was Pot Boy, P-O-T Boy. It's the crypt. Hold on, let me get to the glossary real quick because now it's slipped my mind and I'm gonna feel like a bad person if I don't find this for you and tell you exactly what it was. But there was like a turn of phrase. Yeah, pot boy, a young servant or slave who works in a tavern or inn. Now, I don't truck with anything that has to do with slavery. I think it's messed up. But I remember a lot of people called me pot boy in the back of the comic shop. A lot of the older nerds, and I had no idea where it came from until I read the glossary in the back of that book, which is wild to think about. So yeah, this is old school, Keep on the Borderlands, and in 7 days, the Heroes of the Borderlands is releasing. My pals at Wizards of the Coast, though, thought old Anton should get to check it out a little early. This thing is awesome. It's huge. It's so heavy. You could fight crime with this. This is fantastic. So, it's the new Dungeons and Dragons. It's the new starter set. It comes in a really nice storage box. This thing's super cool. And it has everything you need to get started. And it is wild to think that we went from this, right, to this. We got the Keep on the Borderlands, which is the introductory adventure, and now we got the starter set, which is the Heroes of the Borderlands, the Dungeons and Dragons Heroes of the Borderlands, and this is fantastic. So what's really cool here is this thing comes with, much like your introductory adventure, this comes with everything that you really need to get started. It's got 40 to 60 hours worth of play, right, between combat and exploration and role-playing opportunities. There's a really cool quick start guide in here that'll get you ready to go fairly quickly. There is like a play guide that is set up just for storytellers, so that you as a storyteller or dungeon master can kind of look through it and get your head around what adventure is taking place, what's going on. There's 4 classes that you can play from, right? So it doesn't bog you down with a bunch of classic classes to get started with. So you've got classic cleric, rogue, wizard, and fighter, which is really, I mean, there's lots of fun to be had with many of the other classes. But that's a really good sort of rounding of what you need to get started as those classes. And then there's game cards, there's spells, there's monster cards, there's equipment cards, there's magic item cards. I probably said monster cards already, but there's monster cards, which are rad. There's NPC cards, which I think are super cool, and that's very clever, because that way, as a storyteller, you can kind of see, oh, that's this character. Here's the NPC, here's how they interact. Oh, that's this monster, here's the monster, here's how they interact. What also is super rad is the class cards. They have like these little tokens you can pop out, the little hearts, and it lets you track what your health is, right? So you're not just filling out your character sheet or on a virtual tabletop, like moving numbers around. You can physically see, especially if you're new to the table, like in token form, what your HP looks like, what your hit points look like. And I think that's super awesome. There's also like monster tokens and terrain tokens, and there's like a map. So like you can put your little, everything can get kind of set up at the table. It's not the full 3D minis that you might get from like a WizKid set or something, but it's like totally a perfect place to start. And the fact that it all comes in this box where everything's there and ready for you, I think makes perfect for like classrooms. It makes it perfect for like vacation. If like you and the fam are going away for a week, if you have that kind of luxury, and you're going away for a week and everybody wants to try out D&D, or like if you and a bunch of friends have been thinking about D&D and you're like, I don't know if I can get into it or not, or like, what do I need? I don't want to buy all that stuff. This is the kind of thing that you can pick up and be, pretty savvy and get into the game pretty quickly. Because like at some point, it's just theater of the mind. It's make 'em ups. Like you're having a good time with your friends telling a story together. But if you've never done that before, or if you've done it, but like your friends haven't, this is like a really good way to give everybody sort of a visual representation of what's going on at the table. And it really kind of brings it all together in a single package that I think is really solid for what you're spending and what you're getting. And I think the price point is like $50. It's not super expensive, which is awesome. That's the physical edition. There's like a digital edition. I think there's like another bundle that's all together. It comes out in like a week from the time of me filming this, so probably in the next couple of days, depending on when this goes out. It comes out in a week from me filming this. September 16th is when it's dropping. So a week to 5 days by the time this video comes out. And you can pre-order it now. You can pick it up at your local gaming shop. You could probably pick it up at like your Barnes & Noble, your Second and Charles, your wherever, your big box stores that you go shopping at. This is more than likely available out there. You can order it directly from D&D Beyond. I think there's probably other virtual storefronts that you can pick it up from as well. I would say that this is solid. Like if you want to get into D&D, and you want to get into it in a way that you maybe don't have friends who play, or you maybe can't coordinate with those friends when to get together, or like you have kids and you want to, like you're like, man, they really want to play. They want to start like a group at their local library. I've helped a lot of librarians and educators set up these sort of things, and like these are the books you need to pick up and this is what you need to be doing, and these things might help, and I've gotten really good feedback from that. So like a lot of that work that I do is very rewarding, and this is the kind of thing that like I can point them towards. It's like this and the 10 speed young adventurers guides. Those younger groups, like those are fantastic books for them. So this kind of starter set, I didn't know what it was going to look like. I've seen some of the other starter sets. I have the majority of the starter sets that have been available. I collect them. And they're solid. I think they're fun. This one is different. This is like the biggest one I've seen. And I think this one really is focusing on getting new players into the game, new players to the table, people who've seen this, like, secondary sources, whether it's been Instagram Reels or TikTok or Stranger Things or whatever it may be. This feels like it has been built as an actual, like, let's get started on your path into Dungeons and Dragons. So as a starter set, incredibly successful. I think this thing works. I think it's a lot of fun. I am really excited to see what the next crop of players and storytellers look like. We've got really big talent. We've got really big names that are out there in the world. They're doing their thing, and I appreciate what they're doing. But I'm always really stoked when I get the chance to talk to people who are new to the table, because getting to hear their stories and getting to hear their experiences, and like, oh man, me and my mom and my aunt and my cousin and like 3 of our friends from down the block, we're all playing now, and we play like once a month. That's the kind of story I really love to hear, because it's really about fellowship and like hanging out with each other and sharing good food and sharing good memories and like playing make 'em ups together. And so this is the kind of product I love to see, because this is the kind of thing that like I really feel like brings people to the table, and people coming to the table in an open and like ready to learn and sort of we're all equal way makes me really happy. So I'm always stoked when new starter sets drop, because for me it feels like an indication that like we're about to get a new crop of players. It might not happen immediately on the 16th when this drops, but hopefully these sit on the shelves of these stores. People grab them. People grab them for holidays. People grab them for their friends. Somebody wants to try something different, and they pick this up, and then they really get into it. And then those are where we get like some really revolutionary storytellers who are bringing new stuff to the game, new stuff to the table. And that, like, the possibility of new things coming to the table because there's a new starter set, like the joy that my heart is full of with the possibility of new stuff coming to the table is it's pretty up there, man. It's pretty up there. So if you are trying to get somebody into the game, starter set's not a bad way to go. It's out September 16th. I hope you find something that makes you happy today. Until next time, bye.